It started off as an ordinary Sunday afternoon. The kind of day where everything feels quiet and predictable. My husband had left early for a business trip, the house was calm, and I was sipping on my second cup of coffee when I noticed a small leak under the kitchen sink. Nothing major, just a slow drip, but enough to annoy me. I didn't want to wait around for a plumber, so I called someone I thought I could trust. Someone who had been around before. My fitness trainer, Matt. He had mentioned a few times during our sessions that he used to work in home repairs before getting into personal training. It felt harmless at the time. Familiar, even. After all, we had known each other for almost a year. When he showed up, he was wearing his usual gym gear, a fitted black tee and joggers, but this time he was holding a toolbox instead of a protein shake. I remember thinking how different he looked outside the gym. Less structured. More real. We made small talk while he got to work under the sink, and everything felt normal, at least at first. The conversation was easy, even playful. We laughed about how I never seem to have a normal day when my husband is away, and he teased me about my lack of basic home repair skills. It felt innocent. But somewhere between tightening pipes and passing tools back and forth, something shifted. There was a moment, subtle, almost unnoticeable, when his hand brushed against mine. Just a second too long. I pulled away, unsure if I imagined it. But then came the look. Not the kind of look you give a client. Not the kind of look a married woman should respond to. And yet, I did. I don't know why. Maybe it was the way he made me feel seen. Or maybe it was the loneliness I'd been ignoring in my marriage. Either way, something I thought was locked deep inside me started to stir. As the sun dipped lower and the kitchen filled with golden light, we ended up sitting at the table, talking about life. Not workouts. Not diets. Just life. His dreams. My regrets. The silence between words said more than the words themselves. I kept telling myself he'd leave as soon as the leak was fixed. But hours passed. The toolbox stayed closed. And when the rain started outside, it only gave one more reason to delay his exit. What happened that night wasn't planned. It wasn't dramatic or loud. It was quiet. Gentle. Dangerous in its calmness. I never thought I'd cross a line like that, especially not with someone I'd only known in workout clothes and stopwatch clicks. But the truth is, sometimes betrayal doesn't start with passion, it starts with attention. What I didn't know then was that one simple choice, made on an ordinary afternoon, would unravel everything I thought I understood about love, loyalty, and myself. And the hardest part? That night was only the beginning. The next morning felt different. Not because of what happened, but because of what it meant. I stood by the window, watching the rain as it quietly soaked the backyard. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. Matt had already left by then. No dramatic goodbyes. No promises. Just a soft take care before the door clicked shut. I told myself it was a one-time thing. A mistake. A moment of weakness. But deep down, I knew it wasn't going to be that simple. You see, my marriage hadn't been bad, just distant. My husband, Ryan, is a good man. Kind. Responsible. But somewhere along the way, we stopped looking at each other the way we used to. Conversations became schedules. Dinners were eaten with phones nearby. I used to brush off the silence as routine, but maybe I was just ignoring the quiet ache that had settled in my chest. It wasn't about needing someone new, it was about feeling forgotten. Matt had always been part of my weekly routine. 2 sessions a week at the local gym, nothing more. He was professional, friendly, and always focused. But then came the longer stretches of small talk, the texts to confirm sessions turning into short jokes or "how's your day" messages. Little things that didn't feel wrong until they did. And now, every memory of our time at the gym played back in my head like scenes I hadn't noticed the first time. I started wondering if this had been building up all along, and I just refused to see it. Was I too trusting? Too naive? Or was I just lonely in ways I didn't want to admit? I couldn't shake the feeling that the leak in the kitchen wasn't the only thing broken in my life. The guilt hit in waves. One minute I was justifying everything, the next I was pacing the living room, questioning who I had become. And then there was Matt. After that night, he didn't message me. No follow-up. No tension. Just silence. Which somehow made it worse. I wasn't sure if he regretted it or if he was just giving me space. Either way, the unknown pressed on me like a weight. What did he think of me now? Was I just a story he'd lock away and forget? Or was this just the beginning of something even more complicated? The leak may have been fixed, but something far more fragile had cracked open inside me, and I had no idea how to close it again. Over the next few days, I found myself caught between pretending everything was normal and quietly unraveling inside. Ryan returned from his trip, tired but cheerful, and wrapped me in a hug that felt both comforting and strangely unfamiliar. He didn't notice anything different, not at first. He told me about boring meetings and hotel coffee, and I nodded along, smiling when I needed to. But part of me felt like I was watching someone else's life. I kept waiting for something, guilt to explode, a message from Matt, anything that would bring some clarity. But there was only silence. At the gym, I avoided booking another session. I told myself I was too busy, but the truth was, I didn't know how to face him. I didn't even know how to face myself. I kept replaying that night over and over in my head, how it started, how it felt, and the way he looked at me before leaving. Was it real for him, or just a mistake he was hoping would fade away? The questions kept me up at night, more than the guilt. And Ryan, he started noticing. He asked one evening if everything was okay. I lied. I said I was just tired. But I could tell he wasn't convinced. He kept glancing at me like he was trying to find something hidden in my eyes. And maybe he was. That was the hardest part. Ryan hadn't done anything wrong. He trusted me. He believed in the version of me I wasn't sure existed anymore. Meanwhile, I found out Matt had taken on new clients and changed his usual gym schedule. A friend mentioned it casually, not knowing what it meant to me. But I knew. He was avoiding me. And that avoidance made everything more complicated. I didn't know if I wanted to forget or confront it. Part of me felt abandoned, like I was the only one carrying the weight of what happened. The real conflict wasn't just between me and Matt, or me and Ryan. It was inside me, this war between the life I had and the person I didn't recognize anymore. I kept wondering, was that night a glimpse of something missing, or just a moment of weakness I'd never escape? The more I tried to move forward, the more the memory pulled me back. And what scared me most wasn't that I made a mistake. It was that part of me didn't want to forget. It was a Thursday evening when everything started to spiral. Ryan had come home early from work, which was rare. He said he wanted to surprise me with dinner, just the two of us. The gesture was sweet, thoughtful even, but it made my chest tighten. I wasn't ready to sit across from him, knowing what I'd done and still not having the courage to say anything. The worst part? He was trying. I could see it in the way he looked at me, like he was reaching for something that used to be there between us but wasn't anymore. We sat at the table, and I tried to act normal. I laughed when I was supposed to. I nodded when he talked. But I was somewhere else in my mind, stuck in that kitchen moment with Matt, stuck in the quiet that came after. And just as I was starting to calm myself down, Ryan said something I didn't expect. He looked at me carefully and asked, "Is there something you're not telling me?" I froze. For a second, I thought he knew. I thought maybe he'd found a message, overheard something, connected the dots. But he didn't press. He just kept watching me, waiting. And I lied again. No, of course not. Just tired. But this time, I don't think he believed me. His expression changed just slightly, but enough for me to notice. There was doubt now. Suspicion. Later that night, after he went to bed, I sat in the living room, staring at my phone. I hadn't heard from Matt in weeks. Not even a casual check-in. Part of me wanted to message him, to ask if he was okay, or if he regretted everything like I did. But I didn't press send. I just sat there, caught between wanting answers and fearing what they might be. And then, the next morning, something happened that pulled me deeper into the storm. I got a text from an unknown number. Just one line, "You really think no one's going to find out?" My hands went cold. My heart pounded. I read it over and over, trying to figure out who it was. Was it Matt? Someone who saw something? A cruel prank? Or worse, was Ryan starting to piece things together? Everything I'd tried to keep hidden was now cracking open, and for the first time, I realized I might not be able to control what happened next. I stared at that message for what felt like forever. My first instinct was denial, maybe it was spam, a wrong number. But my gut told me otherwise. The words felt too pointed, too deliberate. I locked my phone and set it down, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Whoever sent that message knew something. And they weren't just asking, they were warning. I didn't sleep that night. My mind raced through every possible scenario. Had someone seen Matt leaving the house? A neighbor, maybe? Or worse, had Ryan somehow found out and was testing me? By morning, I was running on coffee and nerves. I tried to carry on with the day like nothing was wrong, but the tension followed me like a shadow. Then the second message came. "He wasn't as careful as you think." That one hit harder. It confirmed what I had been afraid of, this wasn't just someone guessing. This was someone who knew. I replied instantly, typing, "Who is this?" But no response came. Just silence. My heart sank. That sinking feeling in my chest had turned into full-blown panic. I couldn't keep it to myself anymore. I needed to talk to someone, but I didn't have anyone I could trust. Telling a friend felt like gambling with my entire life. So I did the one thing I told myself I wouldn't do. I called Matt. It rang twice before going to voicemail. I tried again, same result. On the third try, he answered. His voice was calm, too calm. I jumped straight to the point. "Matt, did you tell anyone?" He was silent for a second, then said, "No. Of course not." "Why?" I told him about the messages, word for word. I expected him to panic, to offer some explanation. But instead, he said something that turned my blood cold. "I think I know who it might be." I pressed him for more, and finally, he admitted something I never saw coming. His ex, someone he had dated on and off before we met, had apparently seen a message I sent him weeks ago. He hadn't mentioned it because, in his words, it didn't seem serious. She had always been jealous, always watching. He thought she was just being petty. But now, it looked like she had gone a step further. I felt the floor shift beneath me. This wasn't just about me and Ryan anymore. This wasn't even just about Matt. Someone outside the marriage knew, someone who had nothing to lose, and every reason to expose the truth. Suddenly, the threat felt real, urgent. I had been worried about guilt, about secrecy. But now I had a bigger fear. This wasn't going to stay quiet much longer. Someone wanted this to blow up. And if they kept pushing, it wouldn't just destroy my marriage, it could take down everything I thought I had left. 2 days later, everything unraveled. It was a Saturday morning, and Ryan suggested we go out for breakfast. He said he wanted to talk. My heart dropped. I tried to keep calm, but inside, it felt like everything I had been holding together with threads was about to snap. We sat at a quiet table near the window. He stirred his coffee slowly, eyes locked on mine. And then he said it, calmly, without emotion. "I know. I didn't even have the strength to pretend. I just sat there, frozen, staring at the man who had trusted me, who had loved me. I opened my mouth, but no words came. He looked down, took a deep breath, then continued. Someone sent me screenshots. Messages. Pictures. From your phone to Matt. I wanted to explain, to say it wasn't like that, but I knew how hollow it would sound. He wasn't angry. He was just tired. Like someone who had seen too much and couldn't unsee it. That hurt more than yelling ever could. Then came the twist I didn't expect. Ryan told me he hadn't confronted me right away because he needed to be sure of what I wanted. He'd been feeling the distance for months. He thought maybe I was just stressed or unhappy, and he blamed himself. But when the screenshots came, sent anonymously from a blocked number, he realized it wasn't just about him. He said he needed to know whether I'd come clean on my own. And when I didn't, he quietly made his decision. I filed for a separation yesterday, he said softly. I'm not doing this out of anger. I just don't think we can go back. Tears welled up in my eyes, not just because I'd been caught, but because I knew he was right. The damage was already done, and pretending it could be repaired would only hurt us both more. I nodded slowly, the weight of it all sinking in. But just when I thought that was the end of it, he added something else. I think you should know. Matt didn't just have one ex. He slid his phone across the table. On the screen was a forwarded email from another woman, a different name, same kind of story. She claimed Matt had a pattern, getting close to married women, making them feel special, then moving on once things got messy. It wasn't just jealousy. It was a warning. I stared at the screen in disbelief. All this time, I thought I had fallen into something real. But maybe I was just the next chapter in his game. Everything I had risked, my marriage, my peace, my self-respect, was for someone who might have never meant anything real at all. As I sat there, stunned and broken, I realized the real betrayal wasn't just what happened between me and Matt. It was the lie I told myself, that I was in control. That I could walk away untouched. But the truth was, none of us walked away the same. After that breakfast, we drove home in silence. There were no more words left between us. The truth had been laid out, all of it, and nothing could change what had happened. Ryan packed a few things that afternoon and left to stay at his brother's for a while. There was no shouting, no slammed doors, just the quiet end of something that had once meant everything. Watching him walk out the door, I felt a kind of sadness I couldn't put into words. Not just for the marriage, but for the version of me that had slowly disappeared in the middle of it all. Over the next few weeks, I tried to put my life back together, piece by piece. I stopped going to the gym altogether. I didn't return Matt's calls. Yes, he reached out, said he wanted to talk, to explain, but by then, I had nothing left to give. The pain of losing Ryan was still fresh, but what cut deeper was the realization that I had been living in a fantasy, chasing validation from someone who likely never saw me beyond convenience. I eventually reached out to the woman from the email Ryan had shown me. We spoke briefly. She was kind, honest. Her story was so similar to mine it was almost eerie. She didn't speak with bitterness, just experience. He knows how to find people who are quietly breaking, she said. That line stuck with me for days. Maybe I had been breaking for a while and just didn't see it. Maybe what happened with Matt wasn't just about temptation, but about filling something that had been empty for too long. I started therapy, not just to deal with the affair, but to understand why I had let things get so far. I learned a lot about myself in those sessions. About how easy it is to lose your sense of worth when you stop hearing your own voice. I started writing again. Simple thoughts. Journals. Little reflections. It helped more than I thought it would. As for Ryan, we kept things respectful. The separation became final quietly, and we agreed to move forward without dragging each other through more pain. I'll always be sorry for how it ended, But I know now that honesty, no matter how hard, is always kinder than pretending. If you're watching this and you're in that place where you feel unseen, unheard, or unloved, pause. Don't run from it or cover it up with a mistake. Talk. Reach out. Heal before you break something that can't be fixed. Affairs aren't just about betrayal. Sometimes they're about pain that's been left unspoken for too long. This wasn't the story I wanted to tell, but it's the truth. And if it makes even one person stop and think before they cross that line, then maybe some part of this can still matter. That night started with a leak in the kitchen, but what really broke was everything inside me. And now, I'm slowly learning how to rebuild, one honest day at a time. 28.